I had no clue how that was supposed to go, but because of the collective forces at work, I was able to figure that out, and those 10 books came to fruition. And this 11th book is called, Spiritual Eyes. It is volume zero because it brings everything full circle at the beginning and the end.
So let's get into the book, right? So obviously, I mean, go get the book, obviously, for those who can get it. But those 10 books, it talks about your journey as a motherhood, kind of the spiritual awakening, it like covers a bunch of different subjects. But I want to start with, you have what? It's how many of it is y'all? Just seven? You have 7 kids, right? And so a lot of your life has been dominated by motherhood, right? You've been a mom for longer than you weren't a mom, right? So what was it like in this book, kind of discovering and talking about who you were before you was a mom, and now kind of going back on that journey to say, and you called it remembering that you were a woman before you were a mom. And I thought that was an interesting nuance, because I'm watching my wife kind of go through this process where her life is taken over by motherhood, where she don't know. Like, she like, man, I've been a mom now for 4 years, 5 years, and it feels like I'm never going to escape this. But you wrote about, like, there's a remembering that comes after that. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely, because I never felt like my life was my own. You have to understand that I became a mother at 17. So I had not discovered my identity at that point.
So you've been a mom longer than you haven't been a mom.
Exactly. So I've been a mom longer than I've been an adult.
That's crazy.
So, because of being a mom at such a young age, I know I wanted to be the best mom that I could possibly be. So I read every book that wasn't nailed down, because it was important to me. That was the one thing that I did learn from my dad, that if you're going to do something, then do it well. And I'm a lifetime student. I always saw my life being going down a path of education. I always said, to my dad, that I would be a lifetime student. I was going to go to college forever until they wouldn't have me anymore. And it's funny because my path, being a mother at 17, it wouldn't allow me to go to college, the traditional way.
Yeah.
So I became a student of life. So there were never ever any regrets, because that's the one job that I've ever enjoyed more than anything, is being a mother, because of what it produced. And in doing that, it also taught me more about myself than I ever could have learned about myself, I believe, on my own, because I see myself through them.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because you got 7 children, right? And I know people listening, yes, Raffers, they have a lot of kids. The operative word is they, not me. I'm good with my 2, but 7, and my dad got 12. Uncle Roy got what? 10, 9, whatever. I don't know. They got a bunch of kids. But what is it like having to love 7 individual kids, raise them 7 different individuals, because that got to be difficult, right? Because each kid requires a different part of you, a different version of you, a different part of yourself you're thinking. So what's that like? Can you take our listeners into that thought process of, I have 7 individual lives that I have to nurture, care about, that require a bunch of different things, each of them?
I learned very young that lesson because with my first child, he was walking at 5.5 months. Jesus. He never crawled. He went straight to walking, and people were telling me, no, that's impossible. He can't be walking at 5.5 months, and but after learning what all the different cries meant, learning all the, those fears, those 2 fears that children are innately, born with, the fear of falling and fear of loud noises, and all those anxieties, and so on and so forth. Just after getting through, learning those things, I had another one, and so I thought something was wrong with her, because she wasn't the same as he was. It was so very different. I mean, she was crawling at 3.5 months. She was crawling backwards, but she was crawling. You know, he had 7 teeth by 6 months. She didn't get one tooth until she was 7 months. You know, they were so different. And that actually is where the lessons started to come in, where I had to understand and realize that these children are different. Because when I went in after giving birth to her, I went in for my 6-week checkup. I was pregnant with the third baby.
You Radfords are different breeds, man. Y'all different breeds. The same thing happened to my dad. What's going on over here? Okay, I'm sorry. Y'all different breed. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Auntie. Y'all wilding. But go ahead. So you go back and you pregnant with another one. Jesus Christ.
Even AJ laughed at it.
Yeah, so I didn't even really get a chance to fully know baby number 2 before baby number 3 came into this world. And because we didn't know when he was coming, because it was, the time was so close to after giving birth to her, he ended up coming on my birthday.
Wow.
So he is my birthday twin. But the two of them being as close as they were very similar but so different. So it was very interesting, to be a young mother. I had a lot more patience, but because I have children, 3 different generations of children. So I have my 80s children, my 90s children, and my 2000s
For reference, she also has a child born in 2010.
Yes,
Jesus.
So it's 25-year span from oldest to youngest, and so I have a 40-year-old and a 15-year-old.
So let me ask you, because this is always interesting, and I really like that you say remembering. There's a remembering that takes place, because there are things you just innately have, right? Do you believe that the version of you your younger children got was a better version? Do you think it was a more refined version? Because I'm always interested talking to parents who have sets like that, right? Who have sets where, because I remember talking to my parents, and there are times my older siblings like, y'all got good dad, good mom. Like when we were young, and I'm like, well, it's good to y'all because it looked different, but there was still some rough patches. Like it wasn't so do you feel like that? Do you feel like, I don't want to say better because better is a relative word, but do you think you were just like more ready to be parents to your younger set of kids than that first set of kids?
I don't think I was any more ready for the first, second, or third set than I was, in the beginning. Because like I said, I tried to prepare myself as much as I could when I found out I was going to become a mother. So I was probably more book smart with the first set, because but I learned a lot. The experience helped me going down the line, but each generation of children was very different, so it was like starting all over again. So each set, you can't say that each of them got the mother that was designed for them in that time.
That's deep. So what are some things about motherhood that you don't think people often talk about, right? Because even in looking at it, like I'm, from the outside looking in, motherhood seems a certain way, it looks a certain way, and it's glamorized sometimes. Sometimes it feels draining. But what are those parts of motherhood from your perspective that we should look at more? We should talk about more, that in your journey you've seen that is not a lot of emphasis put on, but that we should put an emphasis on it.
The fact that I don't think anyone realizes how often motherhood expects you to outgrow yourself and then deal with the fallout from everyone else, because you're not the same person anymore that you used to be. Almost kind of like what you talked about, how your siblings think that y'all got the better version, or and the same thing in motherhood. Being the And I'm not saying, there obviously are fathers who are the same thing would apply. But in motherhood, because we the hands-on day-to-day and learning each and every child, for who they are individually, you're constantly growing, and so you're becoming a different person, and but yet people are still expecting you to be the same. So I think that's the thing that we.
So, but what is that like, right? Because even it's not just people expecting you to say your kids, right?
The ones who love you.
Yeah, you're the ones who are close to you, the ones who love you, who see you going through that, and it's almost like there's no sensitivity to like, well, mom go through stuff too, right? Because I think sometimes as kids we do put that superhero mindset on our parents where like they don't go through nothing or they don't feel nothing. So what is it like to have to handle that, right? While you're trying to be the best mother you can be, you're trying to be the best person you can be, but you have 7 different people pulling at you, wanting a certain version of you, and that's not to include your other family outside of that group. What is that like having to handle all of that?
It's hard.
Really?
But when you reflect back on it, it is so rewarding because when you are in the midst of something, we see the Zoom version of it, but when you pan out and you look at the bigger picture, and you see you see the collective at work. You see that you were never in it alone. It was never just you. um, so I think it's important at that point for us to take ourselves out of the Zoom lens and to pan out.
So when you titled the book Spiritual Eyes, but the subtitle is The Collective Soul Awakens, right? What does that mean? What does the collective soul awakening mean?
Because the one thing that, again, I always felt like I was a single parent of 7 children. So I always felt like I was in it alone, and but what I realized when panning out, when looking at the bigger picture, I was never alone. It was the collective forces at work. When I look back at so many things that have happened to me in my life, and I always thought it was something else. I always gave the credit to guardian angels or the unknown, so to speak. One of the things that I talk about in the book is a situation that happened to me when I was pregnant with baby number 7, and I was on Park Ridge and East Amherst, and the light had turned green before I got to the light. So I'm going through the light, and another car was running the red light, and all I knew is that my car, it went around that car. It went around that car, and I got past it, and there was no accident. I pulled over, because I couldn't get myself together because my life literally flashed in front of before my eyes, and I was like, guardian angels was at work, but as I continue to grow and mature and learn, being choosing to be a lifelong student, I understood that it was collective forces. Now, when I view the collective forces, I see it as past, present, and future all coming together in order to make things happen.
You said something earlier that I kind of want to get to. You talked about how in your later stage you had the book smarts because you had all this information, but we know that only goes so far, right? Book smarts, when it comes to practicality, is 2 different things, right? And so talk about that. Like, what was it like, having those moments where you might have the knowledge on what to do, but now you dealing with it and it feels like, man, the walls is caving in, or I'm about to be broken, or things are happening to me that I can't control, and now I have to do something about that. What was those moments like where now it came from off the paper, where it was like, I got all the information, I got all the knowledge, but now I feel broken, or I feel like I can't do it, or I feel like I can't move on. What was it like? What lessons did you learn in those moments that allowed you to get to this place that you're at today?
It taught me to be still. Because an incident, like I was very much a helicopter parent in my early days, and so what ended up happening is that all my children ended up being taken away from me. and which I couldn't understand. I to me, I was a great mother, and but it came a point where I had to show and prove, that what that meant.
Yeah.
You can have all the words,
Yep.
but it comes a time where you have to show and prove. And in that moment, and when I was hysterical, screaming and hollering and crying, like, why is this happening to me? What was, right in the midst of that, I heard such a very, very powerful but gentle voice that just simply told me to be still, you know? And I instantly, I stopped crying. And I felt, my whole spirit felt like everything was going to be okay. And I knew that. And in that time frame, I was able to forgive everyone who took part in what everything happening, because I understood that everything happened for a reason. And when my children came back to me, I stopped taking them for granted. I stopped being controlling. I allowed them to be who they needed to be. And I accepted that. Without question.
Yeah. So let's tell some books now, because the story is captivating. Talk about where can people buy the book? Where can people get the book? Because it's 10 books, right? And you wrote 11 books. Wrote each book is about one child, right? Like, did you break down the series, right? Like 10 books so people can know, and then let's sell some books.
Okay, so the first book, as you can give the title of the book, and then I'll tell about the book. How about that? That way, I'll incorporate. This is number 4. So
middle child. I got the best of both worlds. All right. Reflections through 7 souls.
So Reflections through 7 souls is book 1, and that's basically about my journey. So, and along with the 7 kids, along with my 7 kids. Book 2,
Beyond the Womb.
Beyond the Womb, is about me learning to become woman again, after the children.
The First Sound.
The First Sound is soul number 1. That is my eldest child. He spent 17 years in prison. So this is about his journey.
She never said it, but she knew.
She never said it, but she knew is about soul number 2. That's my eldest daughter, who became a mother at 15.
My mirror, my undoing.
My mirror, my undoing is baby number 3. That's soul 3. And he is my birthday twin, and he's her Irish twin. He's soul number 2 is Irish twin.
They're born the same year.
Yep. Not the same year, but they were born 10 and a half months apart.
10 months apart. Y'all rappers.
The Weight of Standing Tall.
The Weight of Standing Tall is
that's a good title. That's a big dude over
Hey, right?
That is my number 4, my between 6'10" and 7'1" son.
The Quiet Conqueror.
The Quiet Conqueror is baby number 5. That's and
very fitting title.
Because him.
Yeah, very.
He's quiet, but he's a force. He's a force to reckon with. He's also in the Air Force.
Carries then release. Or where the
Muse
became mother.
Yeah, where the Muse became mother. That is baby number 6. That's my promised child. She's the promised child that was because I was when I was 18, because of what because of what happened when I was 18, she was the child that was promised to me. So yes, that's
The Veil and the Vessel.
Veil and the Vessel is baby number 7. She was born in the sack. She was she was born, it was called in the pulp. She was born in the sack and had to be ripped out of the sack at birth.
So go ahead.
And then carried and released, which is the final book, is a book about an abortion that I had when I was 18, and because of how we grew up, in church, I very much wasn't a person who thought that would ever happen to me. But it was prophesied to me. I had a premonition about it when I was 12. you know. And so I never thought it would actually happen. I thought I could prevent it from happening. But in trying to prevent it, I caused it to happen.
So tell us where they can buy it. Where can people get books? How can people get books? How can people contact you if they want to interview you? Just let's sell some books.
Amazon.com. And the name of the series is The Awakening Series by Ananta.
So that's how they can. If they want to contact you, do you have a website or something they can go to get in contact with you? Because somebody might be listening and say, "Hey, I want to bring her on for an interview. This is captivating stuff right here."
I'm on TikTok. Ananta Awakens on Facebook, on Instagram, Ananta Awakens.
Are you doing a book release for this, or this is just all organic? Just get it, tell people to get it.
I am working on the book release.
Okay, well, make sure when you get the book release information, you come back and tell us, because we want to make sure we support you. And those out there, again, go to Amazon.com. It's called, say it again.
Spiritual Eyez.
The Awakening.
The Awakening series.
And go. Not only that, but anybody watching this right now, currently online, I will link put the link in the description for you guys to check it out.
Perfect. And text me the link so I can send it out too.
Gotcha.
So, Auntie, anything you want to say before we go? See, I told you that 30 minutes wasn't going to last that long.
So nervous.
Yeah, it's over.
It's great.
Yeah, it's over now. Anything you want to say before you go?
I just want to thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate what you're doing. So.
Yeah, I just want to say you and my dad, y'all sound alike, y'all talk alike, and when you did like 2 looks, and I was like, dang, she a rapper. Wait a minute, they gonna come out. Yep. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you, Cuz, for sitting in. Yes, and please, when that book release comes, please let us know. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Auntie. All right, thank you all those out there for listening. As we transition, I want to just set some context.